Hey there, welcome to About That, the show where we're all about explaining and expanding on the news. What is Ozempic, and why are so many people obsessed with it?
I'm looking for a yellow bone, long hair star, thick in the hips, come get.
So Ozempic is a drug that you self-inject. It's sort of like an EpiPen in that sense. It's approved by Health Canada. It's for type 2 diabetics. Basically what it does is help the pancreas produce insulin. It lowers a person's blood sugar. But the side effect that so many people are interested in is appetite suppression.
Semaglutide tricks the brain. It mimics a hormone that regulates hunger and food intake. It slows down the emptying of the stomach so people feel fuller longer, potentially leading to weight loss. But studies also showed side effects, including stomach pain, vomiting, and fatigue. The drug also increases the risk of suicidal behavior and thyroid cancer. Doctors also note the weight only stays off as long as you keep taking the drug.
I can understand why people want to believe that there's a quick and easy solution, but it's not there.
You know, if you once later got into the bad binging and went off it, and I saw a doctor and they were like, it's 100% because you went on Ozempic.
So it doesn't work when you get off of it?
I gained double the weight back.
So is it weird or wrong that people buy it for this off-label use? Well, yes and no. Yes, because it is technically diabetes medication, and there are actually shortages of the drug in the United States now because so many non-diabetics are buying it.
The FDA-approved drug for managing type 2 diabetes is soaring to newfound fame as word spreads over one particular side effect, potential weight loss.
Sales for a diabetes drug in the United States has skyrocketed after its weight loss side effects went viral on social media.
But this off-label use also isn't that weird because the drug is identical to another drug that, again, is approved by Health Canada, but for weight loss. So Wegovy is made by the same company that makes Ozempic. It's the exact same medicine, same injector, even very similar doses. But the packaging is different, the name is different, and Wegovy is prescribed all the time for people who seriously struggle with their weight. So if they're the same drug, why are people scrambling for Ozempic? Well, a shortage of Wegovy certainly didn't help. But Ozempic has also been wrapped up in this sort of like social media tempest lately. So last I checked, hashtag Ozempic had more than 400 million views on TikTok. And the woman who may have played a big role in making it go viral. So in order to fit into Marilyn Monroe's dress at last year's Met Gala, Kim Kardashian lost 16 pounds in 3 weeks. How'd she do it? Well, she says a combination of exercise, healthy eating, and wearing a sauna suit twice a day. Now, I'm still not exactly sure what that is, but social media was full of speculation and people just plain guessing whether that kind of weight loss could only be achieved by using a drug like Ozempic or Wegovy. And even Elon Musk, when asked how he achieved his awesome, fit, ripped, and healthy body, he replied simply, fasting and Wegovy. And remember, these two drugs are effectively one and the same. But here's where we want to take, a little turn, because the real story here isn't just about Ozempic. It's about how this is a tale much older than most people can remember.
Today, men and women everywhere are as busy as beavers getting off a few or a lot of pounds. To be overweight is dangerous as well as embarrassing. But you may ask, am I really overweight? Well, there's no doubt in some cases, and indeed, anyone honest with himself will need no doctor to tell him he's overweight.
The grapefruit diet, you eat grapefruit after each meal. Or
as much fat as you want, staying off fat.
These people have written to us about the Dexatrim diet plan, the remarkable time-release way to lose weight.
In this video, you'll get over 40 minutes of fat-burning workout.
America's best aerobic Olympic athlete.
The plan is easy. Just have 2 chocolate shakes daily and a well-balanced dinner.
I've been nutricized. I went from a size 12 to a size 6.
It's a 10-day diet where you don't eat any food, you just drink liquids.
Lose weight fast with the brand new South Beach Diet.
It's the latest diet craze to sweep the nation called intermittent fasting.
Okay, so we're linking up with Nancy Carlson. You work in Edmonton at CBC as well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Andrew. How are you?
Good, good, good. And you are really the perfect person to talk to about this subject. So diet culture. You wrote your master's thesis on this. But first, just give me your take on what we just saw. That crazy through the years highlight reel of all the silly things that we put our bodies through. And I kind of think like how did we fall for that stuff? And yet, I mean, the cycle just continues, right?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to pick a favorite, but I don't know. My grandparents, they actually had one of those shaky machines.
No kidding.
I don't think it worked. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't see the results from it. Maybe I was just too young to see the results, but I'd put money on the fact that it didn't work. And to be honest, I wish that this wasn't an area. I wish this wasn't an area that I was so well versed in. You know, when I started doing my master's, I was like, okay, well, let's do something else. And from my personal experience, I thought it was an opportunity to explore something that I have experienced and continue to experience. There are high hopes riding on the project.
So I want to tell you a story. It starts at the intersection of things that have really helped shape who I am. I'm Nancy Carlson. I'm a journalist with CBC Edmonton. I earned my master's in communications last year. And when I started the program, I thought I was going to focus on journalism. But then I realized this was a chance to look into a topic that I have wanted to explore for a while. It's something called diet culture. And the reason I was interested in it is because of my own experience. In 10th grade gym class, we had to calculate calories. So how much we ate versus how much we burned off. It was a really simple assignment, but I saw it as a way to be healthier, so I kept doing it. It just became all I thought about. It started with excessive exercise, and then it was anorexia. I was bulimic for a while. It was decades of disordered eating. My mom recently told me that every morning she was scared she was going to go into my room and find me dead. If she told me that when I was in the depths of my illness, I probably would have just rolled my eyes. I am in a much better place now. I do wish that I had some sort of secret about how I got here, but I really don't. I know I'm not alone. Most people have a complicated relationship with their body, and there really isn't a clear cause and effect to explain it. So you have to look at things like family history, mental health, maybe even how your friends see their bodies, but also it's likely that they're looking at yours too. Something I found in my research is that we don't see other people independently of how we see ourselves. It's almost like we're programmed to compare ourselves to other people. And it is so hard to just ignore diet culture. Because if you start noticing how society puts a value on food and on bodies, you really might start to question the foundation of a lot of things you've lived by. It really is cut and dry too. So if you think of how foods, they're either healthy or they're junk. If somebody says a person is thin or they're fit, that can be seen as a compliment. Maybe you've even heard of how much exercise you need to do in order to burn off a cheat day. But if we're being real, none of this adds up. It doesn't consider any other health factor, like your genetics or your ethnicity or even your environment. At the end of the day, it comes down to power. And the battleground is our bodies. The thing that does make me see clearly through all of this, though, is recognizing that diet culture exists. And for me, it's that knowing that it doesn't have to be this way. And I think that's really powerful.
So Nancy, talk to me about that. When we say the words diet culture, what are we actually talking about there?
A lot of definitions have focused on thinness. So we look at anything really in society, those norms that really allow for kind of the overall ability to evaluate thinness and whether or not you fit into a certain, that certain size. And once you start to really look around, you do see it everywhere.
Right. And yeah, like that's the thing, right? Because it seems like this thing that has this outsized impact on our life, right? Like we sort of tie our self-worth to our body size in a disproportionate way, and real harm comes out of that, right?
I mean, but why wouldn't we? I mean, when you think about from the moment that you get up in the morning, right? Chairs are built a certain way for a certain body. If you don't fit into that shape, you don't fit in, like literally you do not fit into a certain society, which is most of what we live in. Breakfast cereals, healthier, lower fat, guilt-free. We have those types of languages that we see, those types of terms.
Nancy, there's a part of me that can't help but think this whole conversation would be so much easier if we just knew who to blame. Right? Like if there was just one, but you can't, right? You can't just blame the diet industry. You can't just blame the media. You can't just blame Hollywood, because we're all sort of working, as you point out, like in this kind of soupy, messy system that does sort of reward thinness. And even if we can point out that flaw, that's the system that we're in. Right?
Yeah. And, when it comes to how we see our bodies, I mentioned it, my struggles for so long, I mean, I would, I want to blame someone for that. I want to, it's my gym class. When I went to that grade 10 gym class and they did it, well, that's what did it. Is it? My mom, she, what kind of relationship did she have with her body? Oh, okay, well, I'll blame her. And there isn't somebody to blame. I don't have anybody to blame. But what's helped me is just not vilifying everything. For so long I would be like, I'm such an emotional eater. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm an emotional eater. But at that point in time, okay, so I'm having a bad day, and it makes me feel better to eat something, and I'm gonna move on. The power of taking away the power from the other language of diet culture. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but I just feel like I'm just like, you know what? I'm not gonna have to work this off tomorrow. I'm gonna have breakfast tomorrow. And you know what? I'm gonna eat after 7 o'clock, and that's because that's what my body needs. And it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but those little moments, it is a really, really good feeling.
Hey, Nancy, it's been such a good feeling to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much. I do really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And hey, for all of you watching, we will be back after this commercial break with a conversation with Stacey Lee Kong, because the intersection of all of this and celebrity deserves its own conversation. Back in a moment. Hey there, welcome back to About That. We've got Stacey Lee Kong joining us right now. How you been? It's been a long time.
It's been ages.
Yeah.
So long.
Stacey Lee Kong, who is of course a writer, a freelancer, author of the Friday Things pop culture newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about diet culture.
Yeah.
And I just have one question for you.
Hit me.
Who do I get angry at? Who do we blame for the pervasiveness of this?
I have bad news.
What's the bad news?
It's everybody.
It's everybody.
It's not, I would love to point at one person and say, that's their fault.
Yeah.
But it's actually not. It's like this entire interconnected system of, casting agents who believe that thinness is the most beautiful and important attribute, and directors and, PR people and magazine editors and photographers and modeling scouts,
and then us who watch and
consume,
all
right?
of it. Yeah.
And we buy into that message as well. And then, not to say that there aren't some people who are particularly good at wielding diet culture to build their own fame, but certainly, we'll see models or we'll see actors or we'll see influencers who portray themselves as these really beautiful people, and that beauty is really hinging on their thinness.
And so here's where we name names.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are there particular people who you think have sort of done the most, harm in this sense?
I do. I think there's also eras that we can track. So in the early 90s, the idea of heroin chic was like very popular in the fashion world, and that filtered into the mainstream.
It's just like ultra skinny.
Ultra skinny, kind of emaciated, sunken eyes. Like it was actually very dark and problematic. Like it was literally mimicking the visual markers of addiction.
Because and who jumps to mind when you talk about that sort of?
Someone like Kate Moss,
okay.
Right? Like someone who really exemplified that look. And Kate Moss kind of continues on. So in 2009, I don't know if you remember this, but she gave this quote. She was interviewed in a magazine and they asked her what one of her mantras was. And she said, "Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels." And that was a statement.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
Grabbing column inches in today's papers is supermodel Kate Moss. Now, she's been accused of glorifying size 0 by revealing that one of her mottos is the phrase, "Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels," a slogan that has been associated originally with Weight Watchers and has since been adopted by some pro-anorexia websites. Now, in fairness to Kate, she also adds it never works. So, it's not known if Kate actually endorses this view or not, or believes that there's meaning behind the phrase, but does it resonate with us?
To be honest, that does really resonate with me, because I remember being 2 stone lighter than I was when I'd done Strictly Come Dancing and was the fittest I'd ever been and the skinniest I'd ever been. And food just didn't matter to me at all.
Really?
And, I wasn't anorexic, but I just loved being thinner. I really did, and I think most women, if we're honest, do.
There used to be on Tumblr these pro-anorexia communities where you would share tips and tricks and thinspo. That statement was immortalized on all of those things. And that community has it doesn't go away. Wow. It's just filtered onto different places now. But then after that, I do think we got a brief moment where things looked like it was getting a little bit better. So we would see someone like Lizzo being held up as a real beauty icon.
Yeah,
and we would see sort of different body types.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up Lizzo. Because I feel like even the vocabulary that we use to describe beauty has kind of changed
for
the better, right? Like we talk about curves and confidence and that sort of thing.
But can you think of many more people beyond Lizzo who are spoken about in that way? Because I can't. There's some smaller.
There's some. Right?
There's some, and there's also different influencers that are big in smaller communities. The body positivity movement kind of grew up to become the fat positivity movement, and that language is much more mainstream.
To be honest, even accepting my body felt completely out of reach. That's because the reality is most of us have spent a lifetime tearing ourselves down.
I was just in this really vicious cycle of a lot of hatred for my body, which to this day makes me really sad because I have such a different perspective now. And as much as I wish I hadn't spent so much time hating my body.
But my argument is that just because we've changed how we've spoken does not mean that we changed how we thought. And in fact, we just really haven't. We didn't change how we thought at all.
Right.
Because now you're starting to see celebrities like the Kardashians embrace super thinness again. And so where you're thinking about the Ozempic conversation, there was tons of speculation that Kim Kardashian lost weight to fit into her Met Gala gown.
That's right. Yeah.
Because of Ozempic.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere, and it's not going to go away until we actually change how we think.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because I do keep wondering why we continue to be slaves to what we see on the magazine spreads and on the big screen. Like, you know, like if I had to think of, you know, what the perfect embodiment of a guy would be,
yes,
like, you know, I think like Hugh Jackman is like a pretty, like, you know,
pretty good example.
Pretty good example. I'm aware that I don't look like Hugh Jackman, but there's probably a small part of me that thinks, hey, maybe my life would be better if I did.
Right.
Not that that's happening anytime soon. But why do we do this to ourselves? Especially because like we know better.
But do we know better?
Well, don't we?
I would like to say that we know better, but these messages have been embedded into every part of our psyches from the beginning of our consciousness. So our parents and especially I think for young women, our parents and especially our moms and our aunts, and there's like all of our big sisters, our cousins, there's all of these messages about what you should look like. And the messages are everywhere.
You got a shot of Monica. Where's Monica? Over here, Dad.
Wait, how do you zoom out? There she is.
Some girl ate Monica. Shut up. The camera adds 10 pounds.
So how many cameras are actually on you?
So you have to work hard all the time to unlearn what you've been told.
Well, so how do you do that? Because like I'm also just wondering about you personally. I mean, you're on social media. You see all of these messages all the time. How does your brain work when you're processing those?
So I try to be really aware of it. I think I have the benefit of understanding how constructed those images are, like having worked in media, having worked in magazines, and spending a lot of time thinking about why celebrities do things.
You've seen behind the curtain.
And how often it's also about capitalism too, right? Like I understand that you're selling me something, and that is a good reminder for myself. But I also had to work really hard. Like I had to change who I follow to like retrain my eyes. Because the other part that we haven't talked as much about is that thinness and whiteness are also very tied. So if I'm following the biggest stars in the world, they definitely don't look like me. Their bodies don't look like me. Their skin doesn't look like me, like mine, I mean. So I had to go and seek out different representations of beauty and like train my eyes to see other people as beautiful so that I could see myself as beautiful. And also that is an ongoing process. Like I did not, when I say I had to do that, I don't want it to sound like, oh, I finished, I'm done. I've solved the problem. I have not.
So I should delete all the pictures
Just
of Hugh
like
Jackman.
delete the pictures.
No more
You need
Hugh.
to diversify your Instagram feed.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, the conversations.
You know, it's just occurring to me that we haven't even gotten into the whole quick fix aspect of but don't get riled up because we're actually out of time. I gotta go to
the next one.
Break. That's the next one. Stacey Lee Kong, always fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Lauren Bird. I'm a producer with About That. So the reason I'm here and Andrew isn't is because we actually prepared most of this show last week. So I wanted to pop on and give you a little preview of something the team has been working on for next week. And it's all about the growing community of mental health support in a surprising place, TikTok.
I'm so happy to talk about TikTok, always.
The ugly side of being mentally ill that they don't show you.
I have never found a way to describe my mental health until this very moment.
Having that video to show my mom, which I do all the time, it's helped me explain so many things without like a yelling match.
I just heard someone call a mental breakdown a mentee B, and I am here for it.
All of a sudden, I had like 5 million views on a TikTok.
Me and all my friends have something wrong with us.
All right, so we've got that story and a lot more over the next little bit. Thanks so much for being with us, and we will see you next time.